Hey guys, we're back. This time we're taking a look at Happy Little Dinosaurs from Unstable Games. This is a cute little game I kind of overlooked at one point, and I ended up playing it at the local shop, and it interested me enough to go pick up a copy. And it's a cute little game about basically either escaping or being the last one standing at the end of the world for the poor little guys there. Though Stego seems pretty happy. But anyway, we're going to get in and take a look. So the base game here comes with enough for 4 players. First thing we have is our rulebook, and it looks like a normal rulebook, but I hate it in the fact that it's actually a fold-out poster thing. I don't know why it doesn't have a normal book, but they have your introduction here, what everything is, how the player boards are set up, how to set up a game, and this section here is literally all there is on how to play. And then they give you a couple examples. And I think on the back, they have some more specific. Each dinosaur has its own special abilities. And then they go into a little bit more depth about cards and how their interactions work. The different types of cards. And then there's a how to win section here. And then a 2-player and little FAQ helpful thing. I love the tagline on there. But, yeah, I hate the rules flyer. I don't know why they didn't just use a normal book. And to the actual game contents here, we've got our 4-player boards. And they're folded. They have the name of the dinosaur on the back. A little artwork here. And then this is your bonuses or detriments that you get here. And this for Stego only gets the +1 when there's a meteor. And you have your track here. You're trying to be the first person to get to 50 points. And over here is where you track your disasters. And if you ever get 1 of each disaster or 3 of any one kind of disaster, you're eliminated. We have Stego, who's oddly enough the only one that didn't get a little tagline. Like here we got Nervous Rex. And he gets a, I can't remember what these are Predatory, I think. He gets +1 for, and Emotional he gets a -1 for. And then the other parts are going to be the same on all of these. So it really just the dinos that change. And then we have Triceratops. He's so sad. And he gets a +1 for emotional and a -1 for environmental, I think it is. And then last, which I can't get out, we have Bad Luck Bronto. I love that he's wearing the little guy as a hat. I think they're raptors. They're trying to eat him, and he just doesn't care. And he gets +1 for environmental, -1 for predators. Then we each have these really cool little wooden meeples in the colors for the different characters. Have my finger over them. Good old Stego. And then we have our tray here. Oddly enough, this does work for sleeved cards, so it may bend the corners because they're rounded cards and the slots are rounded. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't actually store mine in this anymore. I put them in a new storage, but I have them in here just for this video. But we got 2 different types of cards here. We have our normal deck that we're going to be drawing from throughout the game. And then we have our disaster cards. And we'll start with the disaster cards. But that's all there is to the insert. I'm going to take this out because I'll show you my storage at the end. So for our disaster cards here, you have all the different symbols of the different types of disasters on the back. And these are going to be a random assortment. There may be some from the expansion in here, and I apologize if there's some in here that you don't see in your deck. That might be the case. I have all mine mixed together. I tried to separate them out. But you'll have your cute artwork up here for them. Down here you have your symbol. So in this case it's a predatory one. They're also color-coded. And then you have the title here, Feeling Squirrely. And then a little fluff text down here in the bottom. Life's going great. Just kidding, of course, you're being attacked by saber-toothed squirrels. And then there's tons of different ones of these. In all the different types. Yeah, see, that one's from the dating one. I did miss a couple in here. But then we have these meteors, and these meteors are going to come up, and they count as all 3 types of disaster. So meteors are bad. Stego gets the bonus from them, but anybody else is going to get nothing because it'll have your +1 and your -1 on there, so you have to keep those in mind. And when they're in your pool over here, if I can get this open, they also count as all. So you can have, like I said, 2 of those, 2 of those. So say you had 2 blue and 2, well, no, that's 1 of each. Can't have that. Here you have 2 blue and 2 red out there. If you were to take another meteor, not only would it count as the green, which would give you 1 of each type, but it also counts as a blue and a red, so you would lose 3 times over with that. So you got to be careful of what ones of these disasters you're picking up. And the way you're going to be taking the disasters is that there's going to be a round of play using these other cards. And these all have different numbers, I think 1 to 9 on them. And they either have, of course these are, yeah, just a plain name at the top and artwork, and a 5. That's all this is a 5. And the idea is you do not want to be the lowest. The highest gets points. The lowest gets the current disaster. And then there's other ones that have numbers here and effects. And the effects are really small. At first, some people think they're like a fluff text down there, but they actually have effects to them. And then there's these exclamation point cards, which modify something. So in this case, it's a scored booster. You can add 2 points to a player's score. And there is a timing thing, and then there's a disaster redirect. There's also ones that lower people's scores. There's a lot of different ones of those. Those are all boosters. There's a saber. There's one to swap people's scores. So what's going to happen is you're going to have a hand of these cards, and you're going to try to predict what your opponents are going to be playing. Ideally, most of the time, you probably want to play your higher one, trying to win it, plus or minus any bonuses you have from the current disaster. So one of these is going to be revealed. You know you're fighting over a predatory disaster right now. So Bronto, in this case, would have a -1. Rex would have a +1. And Triceratops and Stego would be neutral here. So then you're going to play your cards. So Nervous Rex plays his 6 with his +1. That becomes a 7. But you're going to play these all face down. And when everybody's played their cards, then you reveal. Then starting with the lowest number, in this case the 1 Dino Grabber, you're going to go through and do the effect. In this case, you can look at another player's hand, steal a card, put it in your hand. Doesn't do anything right now. You're probably still going to lose with the 1, but you get a card later, so maybe you can find a 9 or something in their hand to steal. You're going to go through each of those all the way up. So in this case, the next one would be our 6 here. During scoring, double the scores of any score boosters. We'll get to that in a minute. So when you get up to the highest, then you're going to start scoring, and you say, okay, well, this player has the 6. Because there are cards that make you swap and everything, so you're going to go through those as you go up. So you start, okay, 6 player is winning right now, whoever played the 6. And then somebody says, you know, well, in that case, I'm going to play a... Where did that go? I'm going to play a inversion on that. And the 6 player and the 1 player now switch cards. So now they've got the 6 and they've got the 1. I don't think they actually switch cards. I think they just switch score, but I'm doing that for example. So now they're losing and they're winning, and you're going to go through each of these, and then if somebody plays a booster, I'm going to play a booster, 2 boosters on me. You know what? Yeah, we'll go with 2. Play 2 score boosters, which add +2 in my score onto that 1. And this says that all of the score boosters played currently are going to be doubled. So in that case, he's got a +8 here, +4 for each card. It gives him a 9 with the 1 that he started with. So now he's winning again. And you're going to go through that until you figure out who's got the highest. So in this case, the 9 would be the winner. 6 is in the middle. 5 would be the lowest. So this person is going to take their 9 that they won with, and they're going to move their guy up this track 9 places. The loser is going to take this disaster, add them to their pool, and they move up the number of spaces of cards they have in their pool. So right now they have 1, they would move up 1 space. So having more over here lets you move more, but at the same time you also you're pushing your luck with how many you have over here, because you're getting closer to being eliminated. And then you're going to draw your hands back up to, I can't remember exactly how many cards it is. I want to say 5. I'm going to double check just to be sure. Yep, it's 5. And you're going to draw back up to 5 from the deck. However many you're missing. You'll be playing multiple cards. You'll be people will be stealing cards, things like that. There's things that let you discard cards. Oh yeah, that's the other one. And the person who loses and takes the disaster can also discard any number of cards from their hand, and then the next turn they draw back up to 5. So if you got some really crappy cards in your hand, you can get rid of them and replace them. Nobody wants like a 2 frying pan with no effect. So you can get rid of these and hope to draw better cards if you're the one who lost a round. And then play continues until either everyone but 1 player is eliminated, or somebody finally reaches that 50-point mark at the end. It looks like a long way, but it multiplies real quick, because you can win some rounds by 10, you know, things like that, and you're a fifth of the way there. Plus the moving up when you lose, you get minor points for that. 1, 2, 3 maybe. Once you start getting to 4, it's kind of risky, but... And that's pretty much all there is to the game. It's pretty simple in the base game here. It does get a little bit more complicated and a little more choices when you add in some of the expansions. Like I said, a couple of the expansion cards are actually in here, and I apologize for that. But it does add up and make the game much more interesting as you add in the new stuff. But the base game alone is great for families and either younger players or just people who want something quick and simple. It's not very complicated, and like I said, you can add more complex things when you add in more expansions later on. Overall though, I think it's a cute little game. Plays pretty quick, and it's good for the simple game that it is. Definitely more enjoyable to me, at least, with the expansions, but it's perfectly playable as it is. In fact, I had just the base game for quite a while before I started adding on the extra stuff. One last thing that I want to show is that if you take the bottom of the box here, I 3D printed these trays. There's a couple different ones. This is a shallower one for the top. There's a deeper one, but it's full of cards right now. And that fits perfectly in there. And what it does is it divides up your decks into the 4 corners. And you can take your cards here, and these go in one corner. Now these you're going to have less of, so you'll probably end up with an empty slot from the base game like that. But again, you'll use the bigger tray so they don't slide like that. Or print both trays. And then it gives you room in the middle here to put your meeples. And then the boards will go on top to hold everything in place. When you have the other tray, it's right up to the top. So these go on top to hold it in. The instruction book on top of that. The other tray allows you 4 more of these that are deeper for the expansions, and a extra slot here for the hazard tokens, I think they're called, and the extra characters. I usually keep there's a 5-6 player expansion, which you'll see a video for soon, and I keep the extra 2 for that on here. The other 2 characters that came with one of the expansions require you to use the expansion, so I keep them in the lower tray with the expansion stuff. But everything fits in here great with sleeve cards, and I think it's a good storage solution. The one thing is, eventually you're going to get more player boards than there's space, so the lid does stick up a little bit using this. I tried using one of the expansion boxes to store the player boards, but for some reason they're slightly too small in here, and the player boards get stuck in them. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but you can do it however you want. I just end up with a little bit of lid lift. It doesn't bother me for it. But that's how I store this. Figured I'd share that since I don't use the factory insert. If you're only playing with the base game, though, the factory insert does work, and it does fit the sleeved cards. It's just these rounded corners may bend your sleeve corners over time. So if that's something you don't care about or don't sleeve, you'd be perfectly fine with just this. Well, that's going to wrap it up for our look at Happy Little Dinosaurs from Unstable Games. Hope it helps you decide if it's something you are interested in. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.